All right. Welcome back. We're excited. I'm excited. We're excited. Maybe we're all excited. Hopefully, we're excited because we get to be on this journey. And though difficult, we get to be on a journey of empowering kids to overcome the challenges they have. A lot of youth are diagnosed with ADHD, but this can extrapolate to other challenges, other disorders, other concerns, because really we're here to be able to empower you, whether you're a person working with a youth from a family or personal perspective, or even a professional, whatever might help us to get to a place where we're empowering youth to overcome the challenges they have, because the vast majority can overcome those challenges, not just as a pipe dream, but as how they were created, how they're built, and what they're capable of. In fact, you're capable. We're in this series, Ice, Ice Baby. All right, stop. Come on and listen. AJ's here with his head that might glisten. You are with me today. Hey, don't go away. We are here and we're going to be in this series because, yes, I'm not Rip Van Winkle, but I am here with a twinkle in my eye to be able to say that you are fully capable. And we're looking at this series. This is part two, strengthen. And we get an opportunity to talk about how to help you strengthen your resolve to strengthen and empower a child, those children, to overcome the challenges that they're facing. And part one, and bear with me for part one, there's part one, which was the main part. My video had problems, and then I finished it with a small conclusion. So there's part one and part one conclusion. You can find those links in the description below. Also, please like and subscribe, right? So we're here for love and to stay connected and stay on this journey. Also, note that what we got to talk about in the first part was we get to look at children wanting to stay in stimulating environments, which we call the ice. There are a lot of youth that this is where they're at from a developmental perspective, and we can look at them from a disease perspective, which now we call divergence or disorders. But really, even when we get to it, and divergence can be something that's so popular, but really what it comes down to is being able to recognize that what we're really dealing with are kids that want to stay in stimulating environments. Some kids have a compliant temperament, and for them the stimulating environment is to please and achieve and do schoolwork and obey, because what's stimulating to them from the inside out is their ability to recognize that they're being responsible, that they're making their caregivers proud. This is something that's very stimulating, because to them, they really get a lot of internal stimulation out of pleasing and achieving the boss. There's other youth that really get their stimulation from trying to be the boss, have life on their terms, to be able to engage in the things in the ways that they want to, whether it's meal times, food, and we can call these sensory issues. And sometimes they are, but a lot of times it's a manifestation of a youth who is dead set on the things that are pleasing to them that they want to eat. We also are talking about situations where it's bedtime, or lots of times, right? Time to put down the tablet or go to school or do schoolwork or just transition. And even times when we're telling them to do something, or we have an expectation for them, and they can blow up. And we can face a lot of challenges. And a lot of you out there are tuning in because you are facing serious challenges, or seeing you go through serious challenges. And we get an opportunity together to look at it and say that for a lot of youth, this is a byproduct of them wanting to stay on the ice, being in the stimulating environment, or seek the ice, what might be stimulating to them. Let's understand, stimulating to a youth is not always the tablet. Sometimes to a youth, stimulating can be to throw a fit, throw the books, fall out of their chair, have a tantrum, whine, cry. Why? Because these are expressions of how they feel, they're expressions of their brain that's in development. And the most dominant part of the brain for youth 12 and under is the part responsible for impulses and emotions, to be able to let that go, to be able to have a chance to get what they want, even though they don't always do, to be able to not sit down and not do the work in the moment, because they are up and they are having a tantrum or what's happening. And sometimes it's just a combination of them being on the ice, this slippery slope, and it going too far. But a lot of these things come from the natural factors of understanding the motivations of our kids. And yes, motivations, because we can look at motivations in society and see it as, well, this is a good kid or a bad kid. And even though we don't really say that anymore, it kind of comes down to, we might say healthy or unhealthy, developmentally appropriate or not. Well, really, when it comes down to it, kids are smart, and many of them don't look at the world and their lives the way we do. We look at what's good for a child's life. They often are looking at it from what's good in their life. What's good for the child's life is to sit down in class for 8 hours or however many hours a day to focus on their work to get their education. What's good in their life in the moment may be to look out the window or to think about the video game they want to play, or to talk to their neighbor, or to try to kick and play, or to do something silly, or fall out of their seat, or get up and throw books because they're just frustrated. This is not what they want to do. And maybe there's a chance that they get to go home where there may be trouble or situations, but for them, that may be a better environment for them in that moment than where they are. So we get an opportunity to look at it that, yes, there can be a lot of confusing things, but it comes down to strengthening ourselves. You are here because you've been strengthening yourself with understanding. And we looked at things last time. First thing we want to do when we're on this journey is we want to be able to look at the situation, the self of the child, right? What type of child do you likely have or are dealing with? Are you likely dealing with a child who's really willing to be please the boss, or are you dealing with a child who really probably wants to have life on their own terms, so what we call the strong-willed child? What are the situations in which you see the ice coming into play, where the child may want to be in a more stimulating environment for them, such as on the tablet, or with grandma, or uh, playing something, or running around, or even having tantrums, or these problems at school because that's more stimulating to them, or they're wanting to avoid the situations that are not as stimulating. They don't want to go to bed, they don't want to eat their what they're supposed to eat, they don't want to do what you say. So first, the self of the child. In the last video, we get a chance to look at the situations, and then we get a chance to look at, how to strengthen them through love, expectations, and discipline. And yes, those are things that we talk about a lot of times, because believe it or not, that's what it comes down to. Many of you say, well, AJ, that's what I have. I have the love. I've had it for years. I've had the healthy expectations. I've had the discipline. I even have that now. But yet my child continues to get worse and worse. And I'm at my wits' end, and I want to pull out my hair and look like you or worse, because this is so frustrating. Well, what happens is we get undermined by this frustration because the world keeps throwing at us different narratives about what's going on and what to do about it. So oftentimes caregivers are having love, but they don't understand what that means, in the sense that they feel like, well, I've got to give my child more attention. But a lot of caregivers out there are giving their child enough healthy attention. But the world keeps saying, well, they're doing it for attention. They're doing it for attention. They're doing it for attention. And that's confusing. Or expectations. Well, yes, I expect my child to listen. But even then, there's these watered down versions of listening. And oftentimes most caregivers are telling their child 2, 3, 5, 10 times to try to get them to listen. Or expectations of discipline. What does that mean? A lot of times it's coming from this, gentle parenting. Well, you've got to mainly talk to them and encourage them and do reward systems and a whole lot of stuff that has the appearance of wisdom, but is not empowering to the children themselves, and being able to hold them accountable in a way that causes them to want to push their energy away from what they find stimulating, that's not good for their lives, into what we would want for them. So yes, we get an opportunity to boil it down to what's going to actually be the most effective. One of the things that I often encourage people to think about is, what do you think is the most effective in empowering your child to overcome the challenges? Many caregivers scratch their heads. They feel like nothing's effective. Here's the question: what do you think is the most effective thing or things that you're doing? Because most caregivers out there are doing at least 70 to 80% of the most effective things to help their child succeed, but you don't feel like anything or hardly anything's working because you're not seeing that change last over time. Even if a youth goes into a facility, they come home about 2 weeks, they're better, then bam, things can go off the rails, even if it's a little bit longer than 2 weeks. But you get what I'm saying. So we get a chance to really identify effectiveness is not based on performance. It's based on you operating in a way that you believe in when you do it consistently, that you believe has the power or ability to empower your child to get better. And we don't always see those results, especially not in the near term. They can take weeks and months to be able to bring about some recognizable changes. But what do you think you do that is the most effective? Some of you are just like, well, hey, I do spend intentional time, or I do hold them accountable in this one situation specifically, or I am consistent with not giving in to what they expect. But we get to go further. And so that's what we're looking at, to be able to really get to the point where what we're going to talk about in the next video is melt the ice. But before that, we're going to talk about how to strengthen our resolve and get to the point where we can strengthen our children in overcoming the ice and their temptation to either be on the ice or avoid situations to them that don't feel as stimulating as the ice. So I wrote a lot down today, so I'm going to be reading a lot because I had a lot of thoughts I wanted to share. First thing I want to share is shame has no place on our journey. If there's any, I think, entity that needs to be ashamed, I think it's those out there spending the millions of dollars trying to pump a narrative of youth and brain disorders. The brain is on trial, the brain is being convicted when there's not the evidence based on science, history, or even the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, where every diagnosis comes from. So we get a chance to say that, but for us as people or professionals that are striving to empower kids, shame has no place. So when we talk about psychotropic meds, I'm trying to give you accurate information. When we talk about the struggles or the challenges and how we may be challenged when we're looking at these things, it's not for shame. Shame has no place. It's for recognition of the opportunities that we have to be able to move away from the things that are keeping us from being effective, including self-doubt and shame and false guilt and all these things, to the place where we can say, I am going to focus my energy on attention on what I believe may be most effective. I'm going to gather the resources to help me on this journey, to empower me to be consistent for weeks and months. And even if I don't see the results, I'm going to have a plan I believe in for at least 6 months that's going to give me the opportunity to see for myself what I can do, what I'm capable of, what my child is capable of. So in this, you're already on the path to strengthening yourself with understanding. You're strengthening your relationships with love, and being here is just one sign of that. When a child knows you care, it can break through the ice of misunderstanding and even coldness towards you, although they may not show it because they know deep down that they care. I have a story of a young man who showed coldness towards his parents for years. And even though he didn't change his behavior from their consistent efforts of love, intentionality with relationship, and discipline, he told me that when he got to the point that he was ready to change, he sat in my office and said, AJ, there was nothing my parents could have done different that would have got me to stop on the path I was on. But what I could see differently is that my parents cared. They cared enough to pursue me with intentionality, with boundaries to the best they could, where my friends or other people didn't have that. And somewhere deep down, that meant something to me. And ultimately, though my parents couldn't see it, it really kind of churned in me this desire deep down to be able to overcome the challenges. And so keep with it, even though you may not see the results. Even in small ways, we get to um, look at our children. We get to turn up the heat. We get to try to melt the ice. We get to ask ourselves and anchor ourselves with this question: when have I seen my child or this child behave or act or operate in ways like I'd like them to. Oftentimes, this can be an anomaly, it seems, just like a sunny day in Arkansas where it is warm and snowing. Yes, I've seen that in Arkansas. Maybe you've seen some weather that is just a complete anomaly, but or just a sight, right? Nature is amazing and profound and even confounding sometimes. And sometimes our youth, our children's behavior is confounding. But when have you seen them actually operate like you would hope they would on a consistent or all the time basis? This is a small glimpse of what they're capable of. Even if it's once in a while with a grandparent or at school or coach or with you, this is an opportunity for you to see the signs of their full potential and ability, the path that you're on to unlocking on a permanent basis. Grab onto this and your belief in your child and begin communicating to them that you believe in them. This may be like a faith because you don't necessarily see it. You have your doubts based on the consistent, painful challenges that the bright spots are there. And you say, many people come into my office as a counselor and they say, AJ, my child is a wonderful child. I want you to know that. I'm just trying to let you know about all the difficulties. Yes, you know they're wonderful, but they can also be, it could also be with them and working with them very frustrating and heartbreaking and overwhelming. And those are part of the things that shame has no place, just to recognize the reality of that. But we get a chance to be able to take that glimmer of hope from the fraction of the time that you've seen them operate and be able to say that is really a sign of their ability, their full potential, and that it's the ice at play that's causing them to slide away from that so often. So now we you communicate your belief to your child that you believe they're capable, even if you don't feel it, because of that faith that you have in them. You strengthen your understanding, your relationship, and now you're resolved. You've resolved to stick with this video on this path, and now resolve to empower your child to overcome the difficulties. And you're like, AJ, I am resolved, right? I've been resolved. We know that. And I want to encourage you in that, to acknowledge that, to affirm you in that. But part of this resolve is for us to be able to get past the mounds of snow of the narratives that the society wants to heap on us, from the negativity and the undermining that people around you may want to throw on you, even from those internal things that can be like self-doubt, all the things that you bury your abilities, your beliefs under, your resolve under, and be able to be melt, to be able to heat up, to be able to say, I am capable, even if you don't feel it or not. Our body has a way of shivering just to be able to create micro friction. And sometimes we've got to take a look inside and let just us even have a moment of shiver, of resolve, to heat ourselves up, to be able to say, I can do this. But beyond the doubters, beyond the naysayers, or those who want to put pressure on me, that no, this is not an overnight process or teacher or counselor. This is something I'm committed to. And I'm going to communicate to you that I am working on this. I'm being intentional of tapping into resources. I'm going to figure out a plan. Bear with me, stick with me, continue to help me as I melt the ice of doubt. Okay. We get an opportunity to recognize that though we can feel like it, we are not failures. Our children are likely not divergent at all. We're more capable than we feel. So we get to get our salt, right? We're the salt of the earth, and melt the ice. So, here, practically, how do you do this? I want to encourage you to start with you. What is the one way that you need to strengthen yourself? All right. Might be strengthening yourself in mind with accepting love and overcoming defeat. What does love look like? It looks like saying, although deep down I may not feel like I'm worth it, I am worth it because I'm created in a beautiful and wonderful image. And though no one else may see that, I am loved, and I choose to love myself. I can overcome this defeat, although I may feel steeped in it, maybe in spirit, to make peace relationally with yourself, with others, to forgive, to be able to see that what your child is doing, though it can feel so personal, is most of the time not. Maybe it's starting with yourself, with that regular undivided time with your child, even in very small, manageable increments, not because necessarily they're acting out for attention, but because that love, that relationship is the foundation of everything we want to do. So you want to make sure you strengthen that. And so when I say make sure you strengthen that, meaning that that might be something that you're like, you know what, this is for me, what I want to start with, the way I want to strengthen myself. Maybe you need to strengthen your resolve to be the bad guy. Maybe you haven't wanted to be the bad guy, or maybe you're worried that your child will pull away from you or the relationship won't be the same. But with children, know that they're loved, right? They know when they care. And it's not about whether you discipline them or not, it's whether you show up for them, pay attention to them, try to spend regular time with them on an incremental basis, be care about the things that they care about, that you show up for them, and not in ways necessarily that cost money, but it might cost a little bit of time and energy on a regular basis to be able to communicate to your child that I care. And even beyond the challenges, I'm still going to take walks with you or sit down at dinner with you or ask you how was your day, even though you may hear something like fine or nothing at all. The intentional ways that we show that we care, so that we know that when we're willing to be the quote unquote bad guy, we can have faith that deep down our child knows that we love them. Strengthen your resolve to no longer tolerate being hit or kicked. Some of you out there are dealing with aggression from the youth, and this can be very challenging. But strengthen your resolve that you're no longer going to tolerate that. And you might say, well, how do I do that, AJ? Well, part of it is, that's not an easy answer, but one we are going to cover in these series. One, to be able to encourage you to do that. And some of you, even by me mentioning this, can think about or unlock ways that you had before, or you believe that you can no longer tolerate being hit or kicked. And that doesn't mean that you are doing something that would not be appropriate, but it's being able to communicate, no, this is not okay. I'm not going to tolerate this. And I'm going to find a way to be able to set a boundary in my own home, in my own relationship with this. And we're here after this series. What I hope to do is to do another series to be able to specifically address violence and aggression from any youth you might be working with. And so after this Ice Ice Baby series, that's going to be hopefully the next series. All right. So stay tuned, stay connected. I want to really get to that and dive into that deep. But for today, it can start with your resolve. And you may feel like that's not enough, but sometimes it's that mindset. Sometimes it's that being able to say, you know what, I can be empowered in my own mind and my own self to have this resolve. I may be looking for the answers of how to carry it out, but that resolve is key. Strengthen your boundaries concerning those who would undermine you. Who undermines you? It may be well intentioned. It might be somebody that you depend on or rely on or feel like you need resources from, but the undermining is poisonous to everything that you hope to build, particularly you and the belief that you are capable. So what can you do to be able to strengthen your boundaries in love and firmness with those who would undermine you? Now, think about last, what we're going to wrap up with today is, what is one specific area you want to strengthen your child in? One area that your child wants to stay on the ice or seek the ice instead of what they need to do. Okay. So it might be listening. Oftentimes, this is where it starts. Are they doing what you tell them the first time? Or, really it's the second or third time, right? But it's not 5, 10 times. But are they doing what you tell them? Are they obeying? Are they compliant? Are they willing to do what you say? Because that's the foundation often of everything else. Do you want to strengthen your child in the area of doing their homework, obeying in school, going to bed on time, eating their dinner, uh, getting up and out of the house on time, not hitting? What area do you want to strengthen your child in? What can I do to strengthen myself in the one area I picked, is what I want to encourage you to focus on today. What can I do to strengthen myself in the one area I picked? We're going to focus on next time being able to help your child melt the ice, to be able to focus on how you can strengthen your child in the specific area that you want to empower them in. But first, I want to encourage you to start with you. How can you be strengthened specifically? What can build you up specifically with your resolve your encouragement, and your courage, because that's the key for today. You're the key. You're capable. Not that what's happening is your fault, but you are capable of influencing change. I am so thankful for you. We're going to wrap up the video for today. Let me read this medical disclaimer. All right, pull it up here. Okay. All right. Before I do that, like I said, please like and subscribe. Stay tuned, stay connected, stay involved. Check out other videos on the channel. If you have specific questions related to this material, not necessarily your specific case. I mean, although that's going to be in there some, but what I mean is bring specific questions either in the comments below or to email me at aj@powerofable.com. Please share this video. Please let us build a community where we can encourage each other to build our resolve to strengthen our children to overcome challenges. The information provided in this video is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Seek the advice of a qualified health provider or your physician with any concerns of a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have seen in this video. And reliance on this information is for your own use, your own concerns, your own discretion, and your own risk. Bless you out there. We'll see you next time.